As Gen Xers like myself get older, we're faced with growing financial pressures, including caring for aging parents and supporting growing children. Us 70s kids, we're no stranger to figuring things out ourselves. But
nobody wore a seatbelt, not even in the front seat. If your mom's arm wasn't strong enough, you deserved to go through the windshield.
But can our independent and resilient nature be enough to survive the financial storm? While plenty of data shows how bad off Gen Xers are, I am hopeful that our generation will figure it out, because that's what we've always done. Some Gen Xers were hit hard in their prime working years during the 2008 financial crisis. Others are still paying off student debt. Their children are increasingly living at home well into adulthood, while their own aging parents are often require more care. Few believe they can rely on Social Security to make ends meet later in life. By some measures, Gen Xers were worse off financially than their baby boomer predecessors. The median household net worth of Gen Xers between 45 and 54 years old was about $250,000 in 2022, about 7% lower than that of baby boomers at the same age in 2007. According to inflation-adjusted Federal Reserve data, that was the only age group that experienced a drop in median wealth over the 15-year period of time. Take David Bryan, for example. David is a 55-year-old, earns about $35,000 a year as a school bus driver and lives in Tybee Island, Georgia. He doesn't own property and has about $100,000 in retirement savings from his previous job as a railroad conductor and a researcher at a college foundation. It's a different life than that of his parents, who worked for decades for the sheriff's department and the post office and received steady pension checks when they retired. In a Wall Street Journal article, David said, "As long as my body will let me, it's better I keep working." That attitude is common amongst 70s kids. As another Gen Xer stated, "We're going to have to work up until the day of our funeral. There's no safety net for us. It's just like the way it's always been. We're on our own."
I am, and I think I'm fortunate to have grown up Generation X, too. We got any Gen Xers in here? Yeah, I don't even care. That's how Gen X I am. That's a calling card of our generation, right? It's not even dismissive to a Gen Xer. It's like, I don't care. I don't care also. Nice to meet you.
The feeling of being on our own is deeply rooted in our upbringing. For many Gen Xers like myself, we were latchkey kids. Both parents worked, which meant we had to fend for ourselves until they got home. I remember getting on the bus after school and coming home to an empty house, grabbing some food and watching G.I. Joe or Saved by the Bell or whatever else was on TV. It's funny when I try to explain to my daughters what growing up was like in the 80s. No cell phones, no internet, and only 4 channels on the TV if the antenna was working that day. Let me know down in the comments below what you watched after school and what you remember from growing up in the 70s and 80s. If you want to see more of me in your feed, then hit that subscribe button too, and hit the like if you like this video, and if it's something you're proud to be part of the forgotten generation. If you were born between 1965 and 1980, you have an exclusive membership to a club everyone seems to forget about, Gen X. The roughly 65 million Americans in Gen X are sometimes referred to as the forgotten generation. This forgotten generation is known for its rebellious nature, which spurred on disruption and founded the first social media platforms like MySpace, Twitter, and Friendster, which was used as inspiration by Mark Zuckerberg to create Facebook. Another rebellious 70s kid is Elon Musk, who's completely transformed the automotive industry and space technology with Tesla and SpaceX. That's right, a Gen Xer created the first reusable rocket and plans to transport us, humans, to Mars. While Elon is a unicorn, there are plenty of regular 70s kids that are disrupting what is considered normal and figuring things out in this ever-changing world. Take John Cotwrights, for example. He's a 54-year-old living near Charlotte, North Carolina, who's contributed to 401ks ever since he started his career in banking about 3 decades ago. But whenever he moved to a different employer, he usually cashed out his 401k because there was a more urgent expense, such as a home repair or moving costs. Keeping the money invested in the stock market didn't seem worth it after witnessing crashes like the bursting of the dot-com bubble. Retirement seemed far away. You no longer have a generation of people whose employer took you from your first job into retirement, he said. When we were offered 401ks, I don't think that was a great deal. John says he doesn't have much in retirement assets besides the home he owns where he lives with his wife and 2 daughters, who are 12 and 20 years old. After quitting his job as a mortgage lender during the pandemic, he now works as a bartender part-time and earns most of his money making social media content, mostly for nostalgic videos about the 70s through the 90s. He likes having more time to spend with family. This is basically my retirement plan, he said. I truly assume that I'll continue to work to provide for my family as long as I need to. It's pretty clear that Gen Xers are planning to work as long as needed, which is a big shift from how the baby boomer generation looked at retirement. Another thing we had to figure out was how to save for retirement. Goldman Sachs Asset Management, in a recent report called Gen X, the 401k experiment generation. I was born in 1978, right along with the birth of the 401k. For decades, employers provided workers traditional pensions with a set payout for life, which took the burden off the worker. The advent of the 401k system pushed the responsibility onto the individual, and Gen X was caught squarely in the transition. While some nonprofit and government jobs still offer both types of plans, pensions are becoming increasingly rare. In the private sector, 38% of wage and salary workers were covered by a conventional pension plan in 1980, says the Social Security Administration. That fell to 20% by 2008. Only 15% had access to a pension plan by 2023, says the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Gen X is the first generation where they were mostly expected to figure out their retirement on their own, said Jeremy Harpendahl, hopefully I got that right, an economics professor at the University of Central Arkansas and a director of Arkansas Center for Research in Economics. Sounds like a pretty big deal. When you look at the financial data, it doesn't look good for Gen X. Debt is soaring, responsibilities continue to stack as our parents and children rely on us more and more. Instead of focusing on all the negative numbers, though, I'd like to focus on what Gen X is best at, figuring things out. Our childhood made us who we are today, resilient and rebellious. And I'm confident that our generation will make it work even if we have to continue working later in life. One advantage we have over millennials and Gen Z is our experience. I've noticed a lot of Gen Xers are getting the courage to share their experience on YouTube, and some are making it a full-time income. Look no further than Silver and Solo, who started her YouTube channel in her late 50s after losing her job. Since then, she's managed to make thousands of dollars on YouTube by providing practical advice to those that are over 50 and living alone. Silver and Solo is one of the many Gen Xers who is figuring things out as she goes. I'm proud to be a Gen Xer and credit my desire for freedom and independence to my upbringing. We were the MTV generation and loved having the freedom to do what we wanted. My guess is you also value that freedom, and if given the opportunity, you choose to buy freedom over things. If that is you, then watch this video next on why you need to start buying freedom and not things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.